So it looks like you got Jay, you finally caved into Jay's pestering for the Star Wars game. You guys are all set, it looks like.
Dwight, is there any way I can have you lower that camera just a few inches? Because your natural rest position... There you go.
Let's see if that'll stay or not.
There you
Is
go.
that still...
It's a little high,
really?
but it's better than it was.
Okay. I guess I'm going to do it this way.
Hey, welcome to That Minis Paint Show. I see you guys got to see a little bit behind the curtain just a few moments ago as we were adjusting the cameras. Let me make a final adjustment there. So good to see all of you guys. Yes, I am wearing a hat today. I'm a little bit chilled, and a hat helps keep the chill off. So I have been under the weather for the last couple weeks, and I'm not feeling so hot today, but I'm feeling hot enough to paint, thankfully. So thanks to all you guys out there. Today we're going to be painting the Executioner from Wiz Kids Minis. And then I also have an awesome special guest today. I have Dwight from Big Bearded Nerd. Dwight, you want to introduce yourself? Say hi.
Hello. Hi, everybody. How we doing today? I'm Dwight. I'm the Big Bearded Nerd. You can find me here on Twitch at Big Bearded Nerd 21 or just at Big Bearded Nerd over on Twitter. I will be painting a couple of things with me here today. I have Aurelia, Exemplar of Justice, which is a Wiz Kids mini from the Magic the Gathering line that just came out, as well as Bori Borgmos, the giant Cyclops, also from Wiz Kids MTG line. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks for having me. So.
Awesome sauce. Glad to have you guys. And of course, you can find us on social, in chat at the Games Tavern. And then Minis Paint Show or That Minis Paint Show, depending on if you're on Twitter or on Instagram. Happy to see you guys there. Thanks to everybody in chat for saying hi. I see a few folks. I see the Game Mommy, and I see Lost Polymath out there saying hi. If anyone else is out there, please say hi. Let us know you're out there. Excited to see everybody there every chance we get. And then we're just going to kick in and get started and just have a good time. So let's see here. I think we'll start with a little bit of music here and just kick it off. So Dwight, man, it's good to have you back on and good to
Yeah,
hang
thank
out
you.
with you. I think I hung out with you around New Year's, on New
Yeah,
Year's
we
Eve.
did a New Year's Eve paint. Yep.
Yeah,
Over
that
on
was
my
a good
channel.
time.
That was a good time. So, always good to hang out. Always good to paint. So
Yeah.
it's been a paint-filled day. I got up and I was watching Nikki Sullivan paint this morning, and then grabbed my
Oh, I watched her too.
stuff and started painting along. So
I
Didn't
was
really
watching
have-
her this morning as well.
yeah,
Yeah, as I was working on some content for the Patreon. But
nice.
yeah.
Nice.
It was pretty cool. We've got a new painters tier, paint miniatures and model makers tier,
Uh huh.
and it's focused on content for painters and model makers. So,
Excellent.
yeah, it's been great to get paint plans on there. Working on some other behind the scenes stuff. So I'm starting with. Let's kick it over here. I'm starting with Necromancer Cloak. Necromancer Cloak. And the reason I'm using Necromancer Cloak for the hood and everything else is I think that black is often a little too dark for what we're doing over here in terms of cloth and stuff like that for this figure. I like that it looks a little more like black cloth when you eyeball it. And that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be using the Wargamer Regiment brush to start with.
So I'll throw mine up here real quick.
Oh, yeah. Go for it.
So yeah, I have again. This is again I got Aurelia Exemplar of Justice from the Magic the Gathering line that Wiz Kids just released. I just did a black base coat, undercoat with Zenithal highlight, which is some white spray paint. And now I'm just going through. So she's got this real dark red look to her wings on the artwork. So I'm just going with a Mephiston red base coat here.
From Games
I'll
Workshop?
just layer Games Workshop. Yep. So I'll just I'll layer on top of that and just kind of build highlights out on these wings as I go. But I like this kind of the Mephiston red over the black gives it kind of just a dark base that I like to work from. So, yeah. And then most of her, she's got armor that's mostly silver with some reds and oranges and the cloaks and whatnot, and some golds that I'll just kind of build out as I go. So we'll see how it goes.
Nicely done, my friend. Nicely done. So.
Game Mommy says that Aurelia is the guild master of the Boros Guild, which makes sense from a little bit of Magic that I know. I have a buddy that loves to play Boros, and angels that smash you in the face tend to stick with what he likes to play, so that makes sense.
Actually, even more so than that, Gamer Mommy was on earlier discussing stuff about the Guilds of Ravnica,
Okay.
and specifically about Radkos and the Dungeons and Dragons book as well.
Uh-huh.
So she's very knowledgeable on that stuff. I was very,
Nice.
very impressed.
I have that Rakdos model right here, actually.
Yeah.
So,
Rub it
to
in,
be staring
buddy.
at me,
Just rub
right?
it in.
Right?
For those of
I
you who don't
just-
know, Dwight and I have been going round and round on that particular model. Because I'm jealous that he has it and I don't.
Yeah, I lucked out on that one. I just ordered some new scale 75 paints for it. I wanted some specific colors, and they had a nice. I can't remember what it was, but it's basically a demon-themed line of paints that, or like a set of paints that I have not tried their paints, but I've heard really good things about it. So I figured it's a good chance to pick up a set and try them out. So.
Oh yeah, man. Nothing beats a fantastic model and trying paints for the first time. What could possibly go wrong?
Right, exactly. Hey, I didn't pay for it, so to me that's the time to try those things out. I mean, all I have to waste is my pride, so.
Well, I'm pretty sure you'll be fine. I've not heard anything bad about their paints, personally, so.
Heard really, really good things about them, so we'll see. We shall see. All right, what are we gonna do? I'm gonna go.
How do I pick what I'm painting? I pick what I'm painting based on either a schedule for something I need to get done for a project here, or I pick it based on how I'm feeling that day. So today is a how I'm feeling that day. So
yeah, that's a big part of mine is how I'm feeling in a particular time.
Yeah.
This actually, though, this Aurelios this will be a donation for a Jasper's fundraiser that I'm to get it done by the end of next week. So I figured today was a good day to start her. So.
Yeah, you got to get ahead of those things.
Yeah. Too thin.
I was talking to Jay yesterday extensively.
Yeah.
Jay, aka Neofet. He's going to be running that Star Wars game we're all going to be on.
Right. A week's here.
Yeah. 2 weeks, I think.
Yep.
Well, a week as of today, because today's the beginning of the week. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I think it is 2 weeks from today is when the game is. So
yeah.
It'll be February 7. Yeah, it's nice because he's running that game and he has just taken full command of it, and all I have to really do is show up to produce it. It's kind of nice. Take some of the weight off of my shoulders.
Yeah.
For that game.
Apparently, based on our discussion, I'm reprising the character I played in the one-shot we played on here.
Oh, nice.
A guy named Ren McCall, who is a smuggler, thief, slicer.
Mm-hmm.
So, expect, I hope, entertaining banter. And if I can find the lens, it'll be the same alien lens that I had before.
Love it.
So you'll see me as an alien physically on the screen. Hopefully that's quite entertaining for everyone.
There it is.
And for those of you watching at home, you're probably seeing me do this twice on the same model. I mean, 2 layers, and that's on purpose. I tend to always do 2 thin coats rather than a thick coat. And I find that gives me smoother total color, better control over where the paint goes, as well as just a much better look on the model.
That was one of the hardest lessons for me to learn. The thin paint, multiple layers of thin paint.
Yeah, it's a patience builder.
It really is. It really, really is. But man, does it ever... It really ups the quality if you can just have the patience to do it. So I've been working on glazing lately. Just super, super thin. Went from, 2, 3, maybe 4 coats of layering thickness to like 8, 10, 12 layers of.
Are you making your own glazes?
Yeah, just making just thinning with water,
Yeah.
and just building up. And I really like the way that it builds the shadows. And oh man, you talk about a patience builder.
Yep. True story. Let's see.
You said this is just because I feel like it paint today.
Yeah.
This isn't have this do for anything.
The Executioner, yeah, he was just basically, he's not scheduled for anything in particular, like he's not going to appear on anything or anything like that anytime soon.
Okay.
But he was in my lineup of stuff I needed to get painted anyway.
Right.
Because I always have like a stack of miniatures I can grab and say, hey, I just need to get these done, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, just you and I were talking offline before the show, and we both kind of had major headaches today. And I'm only just now starting to feel better. This is a low bandwidth paint job. You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't require me to think real hard on what I'm going to do next. An Executioner is kind of an iconic thing. Everybody knows what they look like. I don't have to go in and create a color wheel or a deep, rich paint plan on this.
Right.
It's literally grab and go. You know, surprisingly, a lot of adventurer miniatures are actually pretty easy to paint. But because they, you know, there's typically a color pattern to them that sets them apart as adventurers. They have a little bit of a style to them, you know, stuff like that.
Okay.
But when you get into civilians, in a lot of cases they're harder to paint because you have things like, you know, what do the civilians wear? I mean, the civilians is a bad choice of words. Regular people, commoners, you know, what is it they wear? You know, and especially if they're wearing colorful dresses or something like that, you're like, crap, I can't just invent an adventurer, you know, quick color scheme and go. I actually need to think about what this dress would look like if it was like a, you know, a ballroom dress or a noble's dress, and figure out colors and figure out what works and stuff. But the Executioner, totally an easy choice.
Right.
Black is in style. Leathers are in style. And in this case, also some skin tone. So,
Nice.
yeah. I think have you painted the Wiz Kid Executioner yet?
I don't think. Can you show it to me again real quick? Let me get a good look at it.
Thing. Well, I'll see what I can do here.
Okay.
There you go.
No, that one I have not painted.
Okay.
I think I have that one, but I have not painted it yet. So.
Oh, okay. Well, I think you'll like it. I think you'll like it. It's a great miniature. Really easy to paint, very forgiving, and I just squeezed it so hard I popped it off the base. So I'm going to re-glue it on the base. Hey, for those of you at home, I'm going to let you in on a dirty little secret of mine. This stuff right here, Plastruct Plastic Weld, the general purpose plastic solvent cement, is the magic stuff that I use to glue probably 90% of the stuff I do. There are exceptions, you know, obviously there's uses for super glue and stuff like that, but if you're doing almost any kind of plastic, this stuff will melt it. It is amazing, and it literally goes on, and then it's done. It melts that fast.
Yeah, that's a relatively. I don't know that I've used that brand, but the plastic welds or the plastic cement stuff is a recent addition to my repertoire. And yes, I much prefer that over super glue when able to use it.
All right.
So,
I almost only use super glue on metal to metal and metal to plastic. Plastruct, that stuff. For any kind of plastic on plastic, even if it's not the same plastic, stuff is awesome. It's like instant, boom, it melts it together.
Yep.
So I think I used something else the first time, but I can tell you right now, this thing ain't coming off again.
Nice.
Hey, Moonrose87. Do I use water to thin the paints or the mediums they sell? I use both. It's tools for the toolbox. Mostly water. But you can use stuff like Flowquil and other types of stuff. Flowquil acts as a substrate that the pigments will sit in, that doesn't dry as fast. Water is water, and it works as great as it does. So it's just a matter of what you're trying to do.
Yep, I am pretty much water, but I have used a few other things. But water is just it's always on hand, and yeah, I've gotten pretty comfortable with it. I like to use a Lamian medium when I'm doing like object source lighting, but that's about it that I'm currently using.
Just going to give that a little chance to dry there. Show everybody what it looks like so far. There we go. Next up, leather brown for the pants. And oak brown will probably wind up being used on the handle of the axe head. Oops, switch that back over here. I should probably do a tutorial at some point on how to make glazes so that everybody sees how to do that. Yeah. I didn't know how to do it till somebody showed me.
Well, and I think I watched a tutorial on how to do it, but I took my first class yesterday on how to properly use them versus just trial and error, and it really helped me a ton to see some like science behind.
Oh yeah, you got to know the science.
How to use them and why it works, how it works and why it works.
Mm-hmm.
It just, at least for the way my brain works, that really helps with putting it together in the long run.
Now, do you cross stroke your various layers?
So I depending on where it is and what I'm painting, I try to pull. I'm more like trying to pull pigment from shadow to light or light to shadow, depending on what color I'm working with. But in some of the areas, like trying to get the blending, then I will use some cross strokes. But more, I'm pulling and pushing into and out of the shadows. So you how've the games been going for the channel?
Oh man, the Falcon Weave.
Falcon Weave, yeah.
Doing amazing. They came back after almost being off for a month, you know, from holidays, and then some of us getting sick and all.
Right.
But they've really kicked it into high gear. They are in a cliffhanger of a moment right now. They are surrounded in a tower. If I understand correctly, they're surrounded in a tower by a hobgoblin army, and they've already been hit and almost, just got the crap kicked out of them from a single attack from a black dragon.
Oh wow, okay.
They managed to escape into this tower, but now they're like surrounded and people are coming for them, and they have about 12 seconds to figure out their escape plan.
Right.
Or die. Or whatever
That's
it is that they're going to do.
Right.
And that's going to be pretty tough for them to figure out, I think.
Is that a homebrew game or is that a published module or?
It's kind of a combination.
Okay.
So it's something that, from what I understand, the DM, which is Grant Ellis, who's amazing, I might add,
Yep.
has worked with and used before, but he's definitely putting a specific shine on it.
Right.
It takes place in the Forgotten Realms, where all of our stuff currently takes place.
Okay.
For our regularly streamed games. For short shots and stuff, the sky's the limit, how
Right.
it goes. But after all, it's kind of hard to get, Dungeons and Dragons and Forgotten Realms when you're playing Star Wars and Tatooine.
Right.
But generally speaking, that's what's up. And then Whiskey, Magic, and Destruction, tentatively, is scheduled for beginning of March, it looks like, into February.
Okay.
Probably beginning of March. But that's going to be making its triumphant return here shortly as well.
Very nice.
Yeah. We'll see what that looks like when the time comes. Oak brown. Okay, so while I'm waiting for that leather to dry, I've dropped down some oak brown, and I've also dropped down some rough iron. I'm going to start with the metallic rough iron because that way I can go back over it with the oak brown should I get too much too far. It's something I'm going to thin down and hit twice. Rough iron is a great color for regular old weapons here and there, or anything that needs to look like a darker iron color. And then I often place a brighter plate mail metal along the blade edge to show that it's been sharpened and grinded down a little bit. But we'll see what happens. So.
Tell it's been a headache day.
Oh yeah?
A couple of talkative guys like us that
Yeah.
are super focused and not talking too much.
Yeah, we're not talking too much today, buddy.
Yeah.
But we do love everybody out there. If you have questions, one of the ways you can help us spot those questions quickly is just type question in all caps so I can see it, and appreciate that. Patent pending. That is... Have you been getting any? How's the shows on your channel doing this week?
Good. So we had to push. We actually just played our Call of Cthulhu game last night. Pushed it back a couple of weeks because our keeper had some tech problems a couple of weeks ago when we were supposed to air. But yeah, it went really well last night. We had a good. They're both pretty much everything on my channel is still relatively new, so still building audience. You know, getting used to the schedule and whatnot. And I started off very conservative as far as scheduling. I didn't want to overdo it, so we're just doing monthly shows right now, and figuring out where to add dates and things of that nature. But yeah, it's the Star Wars show has been received very well. It's that one, I think February 7th again is our next one. And that one we're looking at basically everything that I run. So we've got the Mecha Hack game, the Star Wars game, and the Call of Cthulhu game. We're all going to run a six episode season 1 that will end around April or May, depending on the show. And then we're going to reevaluate schedules and potentially expand some stuff. I got a couple other things I'm going to be running. I know there's a long-running campaign I want to run in the Harbinger system, but I've put that off because I didn't want to commit to a weekly or bi-weekly long-term campaign right away.
Right.
As I was figuring stuff out. So, but that one will probably be June or July, I think, that we're going to start that one up. So yeah, so just getting the feed. Yeah, Harbinger. It's written by Absolute Tabletop. It's an indie published. It's based on the 5e rule set, but it's dark science fiction setting. So it's the thing easy reference pop culture. Easiest reference I would say is Mass Effect. If you think of like Mass Effect, where it's basically set way in the future, humanity's expanded into the stars, but then bad things happen and we forgot about all our technology, and now we live around this gas giant, and basically trying to just survive off of the technology that we forgot how to make. And then this Harbinger shows up, which is this sentient planetoid that shows up in this system, and all hell breaks loose. And there's all these weird Lovecraftian beasts that show up. And so it's a really interesting dark science fiction setting to play around in.
Oh, that's what Mass Effect was about. I've never actually played it. So interesting.
So it's got a Mass Effect's a little bit different than that, but it's, as far as pop culture references go, if you know Mass Effect, that's what would be the closest to Harbinger. But like I said, that's science fiction is my bread and butter, and I've been following Harbinger. It's in playtest right now. And I've been following it. It's been in playtest for like 2 or 3 years now. And it's just a small indie publisher, and they crank away at it. When I first followed it, it had like 5 levels of character progression. Now they've got up to 20, and they're hoping to get it out for Kickstarter later this year.
Oh, cool.
But we'll be Jake and I are friends with that group, and we're hoping to feature that system on the channel some. And so that's what the plan is to run that Harbinger system for it's going to be like level 1 through 5 is going to progress very quickly. I have a short just get it started story plot, and then from 5 on up it's going to be more of a slow roll. We're planning on running it as a cooperative storytelling game, where all the players are involved as much as I am in determining what the story is. Once we get to that level 5 area, then it's more, hey, let's all decide what this world looks like, and what the story is, and that kind of thing. So
that's always cool.
Yeah.
It's also a relief when you're the dungeon master on that kind of thing.
Right, and that was the thing when I was trying to figure out how to do this. I was like, what do I want this to be? I know I have basically a module written for levels 1 through 5. But I'm like, what do we do beyond that? And I'm lucky enough to play with some people that are very talented role players, and I was like, if I can get some of them involved, then we just do this as a let's build this together kind of thing. So
yeah. Oh. Never do that, kids. I think it's time I put it on the pedestal that I use instead of trying to hand jam this thing. So what's going on your Cthulhu game?
So that's an anthology series. So last night, every month's a different story. My friend Ricky runs that game. He's actually the one that got me into Cthulhu. And he's been running Cthulhu at conventions for many, many years.
You don't get people into Cthulhu, you indoctrinate them.
Exactly. So, but he's just he has this binder full of one-shots that he's been running at conventions, and so he's just adapting those for 3.5 hour games that we run. Last night was set on an oil derrick. It was a modern Cthulhu where we showed up on an oil derrick, and bad things started happening. And I played a character who was secretly a Delta Green agent. And nobody else in the game knew that. And so I was there on a secret mission to try and figure out what's going on. And then, so while everybody else is freaking out, all of a sudden this nebbish scientist kind of just all of a sudden goes nuts and goes full commando mode. It was a fun little take on the normally the very dread-ridden how are we going to live through this kind of game. So yeah.
Well, did you have like a True Lies moment where like, who are you?
Yeah. And it was I wound up killing 2 of the players. It was kind of
Oops.
because well, it wasn't so much an oops as much as it was the way Ricky ran the game. Is they were both taken over by this this evil entity that was dug up by this drill off the coast, and so they lost their willpower checks and were basically, and they were role playing it as attacking innocent people, and so I was defending innocent people and wound up killing 2 of them. So. It was an interesting game for sure. So let's do...
So I've now used leather brown on the pants and the shoulder.
Okay.
I've used dark iron, or rough iron on the blade, oak brown on the handle, and I've used Necromancer Cloak on the hood and the boots. And now I'm about to switch over into my flesh tones. And I'm going to start with tanned flesh, and I'll work my way up to Barbarian flesh. I may or may not have a wash in between. It'll probably be a flesh wash and a soft tone between the 2 different layers.
Okay.
And we'll see what we do from there.
Nice.
And this just goes to show how fast you can paint a miniature, you know, if you think about your color ahead of time. Just a little bit. And with like an executioner, it's not a real hard think. But the more, you know, it's kind of like planning. The better you plan ahead, the easier the actual execution of the operation will be, whatever that is. And so that's just basically all I do is I just think for about 5 to 10 minutes on something like this and go, okay, what colors do I need? The only color I needed to pull was none because I had them all out already. So. Especially flesh tones are good to go with thin coats because you're almost never going to get a smooth color with flesh tones the way you hope you will.
Yeah, flesh is still one of those things that I feel like when I get it right, it's almost more accidental than it is on purpose.
Oh yeah.
So.
And I can feel you there. More than I'd care to admit. That's right, kids. Half the time I'm still learning while here on screen. So if you're worried about people making fun of you while you paint, don't worry about it. People are going to make fun of you regardless.
Exactly.
You just don't need to care.
Right? I do this for me, and if people want to watch, cool. If not, also cool.
Yeah.
So, when Jake and I first started painting on stream, we were very open with the fact that, look, we don't know what we're doing. You know, both of us are self-taught. I have only recently begun what I would consider any kind of actual study on this, beyond just trial and error over the years. But yeah, just constantly learning. I took a class with Gorilla with a Brush. I don't know if you know Alan O'Brien.
Yeah.
And you know, he's a fantastic professional mini painter, and he was very open about the fact, like, look, there's things that I just don't do because I'm not good at them, and I'd like to be better at them, and I have to practice them. So I mean, even the people that we look at and go, man, I would love to be that person someday.
Yeah.
Has things they don't do well and things that they need to practice, and even the stuff they do well, if you don't do it, you won't do it as well. So that consistent practice that is how you get better. I mean, I can show you stuff that I painted last weekend that something clicked for me this week, and a technique looks better now than it did a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I did my first stubble mix, where you mix in the color of the hair plus the color of the flesh tone, and you get it to a certain point that it looks like stubble. That was never easy for me, but apparently I did it first time on stream perfect, and I was like, ah. So that's I meant to do that. I'm really,
right?
But in all sincerity, and I think I've mentioned this before, people ask you, how'd you get good at painting? And I don't know that I'm good at it, but I just refer back to a photographer who was often asked, how do you get so great at taking pictures? And this was back in the days of film. But even the same thing still applies even in digital right now. And his response was, I have a lot of great pictures because I take a lot of pictures.
Right.
And not because all of them are great. He had to learn his craft to where he got more good ones than bad ones over time. And that's by doing it over and over again. So, yeah, you're going to mess some models up. But you'll mess up less and less with each one. If I showed you guys the first models I painted back in 1990, no, not 1990, it was about 1980 something. It just makes me want to cry thinking about them. I was so proud of those models back then, though.
Okay.
There's a guy from high school I used to hang out with. His name was Larry Staffeld. Lawrence Staffeld. He always just had an eye for it. He was a good painter all around. And I don't mind saying that I wish he lived close, because I probably bet we'd still be painting together as friends right now.
Yeah.
He's out in Chicago, so.
Yeah, and if you had told 18, 20-year-old me that I would be doing anything that's considered artistic, he would have laughed at you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this is not, I mean, it's something that, like, I don't know why it is that this is the thing that kind of stuck for me, but I've tried, I mean, I've been a writer, I guess, so that would be, I would consider that artistic now. I don't think I would have when I was 20, but yeah, drawing, writing music, all these things that I've tried, none of them took. For some reason, this one, and I think because this is probably the only one that I sat down and just kept at for any length of time, which is really the key to it. Same with writing; those are the two that I enjoy the most, and here years later, there's some skill developed. And I think there's a lot to be said for inherent talent, which some people have, but more than anything, it's skill from repetitive practice and use.
Do you believe in the Oxford comma?
I do. I used to be indifferent to it, but it has slowly grown on me. I'm not much of an editor, so those things usually don't bother me too much. But yeah, I'm not one that's like, I'm not gonna, like, lose my mind over somebody's not wanting to use it. But yeah, it's definitely something that I use now.
Yeah. I find that I can't edit my own work effectively anymore.
Yeah.
I need to have a separate editor. And I write, consider a lot of analytical papers and stuff like that. It's just part of my day job sometimes. But I tell you, it's such a challenge to self-edit.
Yes, agreed.
Okay, layer 1 of tanned flesh is almost done. Now for the face.
Okay, so
So just letting this dry a bit, and then we're going to hit it again with another layer of flesh wash. Or not flesh wash, tanned flesh.
flesh.
And then go from there.
Do you use flesh wash typically on a paint like that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I do. Last week we did the Hill Giant, and there's a lot of flesh on this bad boy. So if you take a look, you can see it now. There's flesh wash all over the flesh on this one. And so that's what lets you see all the veins, all the gradient in the muscle tissue. And the next layer on this thing is the Barbarian flesh to lighten it up, bring up those highlights a little bit. And that's the part that I'm ruing to do because it's so much flesh on this thing.
Yep.
That's going to be separate.
This guy here is who I've been working on, and yeah, just working very slowly. Well, I mean, probably I put the right camera on him, so very slowly, just working and building up. This one, I used a Nuln oil at the very beginning, but just using glazes to just slowly build that flesh out.
I've got a similar mini that I'm working on doing sometime on stream. This one, which I think is an exquisite model. A lot of gubbins on him, a lot of detail, lavish on this guy. And I'm still thinking about what color to do him. Do I do him in like dark blue flesh tones with brown fur or black fur or gray fur, or do I do him in brown colors with reds, or red colors with brown fur and stuff like that too? And it's just I take my time making decisions with models and test things on color palettes and stuff like that before I go to town on them. Specifically because I get one shot at that mini, Because that one's part of a huge set from Massive Darkness, and there's only so many of those that I'm going to be able to get.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Oh, hey, Psychotic Monk. Good to see you. The Hill Giant, thank you so much for the commentary on the Hill Giant. Sorry I didn't see you before. Awesome to see you now, my friend. For those interested, our Patreon has the paint plans for the various miniatures that we paint. We're adding up to the catalog of everything we've already painted on stream before, and we're adding to it, including some paint plans you won't see from the stream eventually, showing up as well. So if you're in the models and miniatures, the noble or the royal patron tiers, you'll be able to see all of those as well. In addition to getting the news notes from Games Tavern Happy Hour and a whole bunch of other cool content. If you're in the Game Masters tier, you get the battle maps and plug-in encounters. You're just spoiled for choice for that stuff. Layer 2.
Change my water out real quick. I will be right back.
No problem. Water changes happen, my friend.
Yep.
Psychotic Monk, as well as anyone else in the audience, what are you guys working on this week? What are y'all painting? If you have pictures from your Instagram, post your Instagram posts in the chat. I'd love to see it.
All right. So, yeah, I made the mistake of washing off the red in what is supposed to be my clear paint pot. So,
Ooh.
yeah. You know how well that went.
Yeah. I have separate rinse cups for metallics and for color.
Yeah. Like to keep just a general rinse cup, and then just a clear one for like a last quick rinse.
right. Now to kind of show the angle. This is the miniature. You can start to see the flesh tones are now a lot more even where they need to be. And get a little underneath the belly here. One side. Tease that across. There we go. You can see the leather, the boots.
Nice.
Everything else. Yeah, it's blocked in color now. So next steps are going to be let it dry for just a little bit longer, and then switch up to washes. For me, anyway.
Oh, mine here. So whatever. There we go. Oh, like I said, hopefully it turns it back on.
What's a show you've always wanted to have miniatures for?
Say that again?
What's a show you've always wanted to have miniatures for?
You mean like what type of minis have I always wanted to have?
Like have you done any shows where you're like, man, I wish I had miniatures for this show?
Oh, okay, yeah. Not really. I'm not. See, for me, minis are more. I like having them for home games and stuff, but for me, minis are more just for me. I don't typically use them too much for the games themselves. What I would say though, I wish there were some for the Mecha Hack game that I run. That would be a really fun mini to have, I think.
They make plenty of Mecha minis.
Yeah, yep. I just have not gotten my hands on any yet. So, yeah. The other one, I really like the. You'll probably yell at me again for mentioning this, but I really like the demon stuff. Like those are the ones that I like to have minis for. One of my favorite home game moments involved a Cambion that I really wish I'd had a mini for. That would have been really awesome. So
Cambions rock.
Yeah.
For characters or NPCs. Yeah.
Yeah, that was one. It was kind of funny because this was back when I was new to DMing, and I had used online dungeon generator, random dungeon generator, to develop part of this game. And they're going through this dungeon, and again, everything in it is just completely randomized. Nothing was there for any reason. But my players were reading into everything that was happening. And all of these things became clues to them. And they had cleared out the entire dungeon. There was nothing left in it except for one room. And the random generator had mentioned that it had this weird demonic statue right out at the entry to it. And then the room was dripping blood from the ceiling. And so they come into this room, and I start like describing that this blood is dripping down from the ceiling, and they're convinced that this is where the big bad evil guy is. And I'm like, there isn't one. So I'm just like furiously flipping through the monster manual, trying to find something that fit the moment, and settled on Cambion, and had this Cambion basically descend through this hell portal in the middle of this blood ceiling, and then they kill it immediately. So then I had its sister come through right after it, and then it wound up being a pretty cool fight by the end of it. But again, one of those just completely off the cuff, not planned. Sometimes those are the best ways.
Did they kill it immediately because they used all their good stuff right off the bat? Oh,
exactly. And they rolled perfect. It was one of those where they just rolled super well. Yeah, so that's one of my more memorable moments in D&D. My home game still talks about it. Like it was completely an accident. So sometimes those are the best moments. So yeah, I have. I'm just kind of building up on this one here. I've got the Mephiston red on the wings. I've since gone over it with the Caribert Crimson wash, just to give it a little bit of a darker tone to it. I've got the Averland Sunset for the yellow cloak here, or skirt, or whatever you want to call this. And then a base coat of Ironbreaker on the armor. I've got Mephiston Red on the hair that I'll start with. The plan is to build out the... on the source documents, the wings are pretty dark already. So I'll probably just build a little bit of color out into those. And then the hair is more like a fiery red. So I'll be adding some oranges and yellows into that as I layer out for it. So, yeah. Just kind of picking away at it little by little.
Yep. I'm about to use soft tone from the army painter. I'm going to be using this on all the leather bits, and then I'll be using flesh tone on all of the fleshy bits. So, starting with the soft tone. Normally I use a larger brush for washes, but in this case, because it's a smaller model and because I want to have a lot more control, I'm going to stick to the Wargamer Regiment brush, which have been the only brush I've used throughout painting this thing, this Executioner, the entire time. So, and I typically will paint into the folds and then tease it out.
Okay.
So that I get darker pooling in those deeper grooves. And tease out from there. And then I may or may not use dark tone when it comes to the boots and hood on this guy. Nope, nothing yet. One second, guys. Oh, Neophet in the house. Let's see a Neophet.
Hey, Jay, how we doing, sir? Mr. Neophet. Good to see you.
Hey Jay, are you working on any miniatures this week?
Jay says his stuff is still in storage. I know he's been waiting to get all of his stuff ready to go.
Oh, yeah, so. Yeah. You know, in most of the cases in the places when I've had to move and stuff like that, it can take over a year to get all your stuff unpacked and ready for your move. I'm using a little bit of ash gray for the base. And actually, I think I'm going to hold off because I'm going to do the whole base at once, and I'm actually going to texture the entirety of the round circle that this thing is on. So actually, I'm just going to hold off on that. Jay, we were just talking about you not that long ago about Star Wars and everything else. And yes, it was all good stuff, by the way. My good friend Drew Carrington, who's over at 1 Inch Heroes, painted up a lot of Star Wars stuff not that long ago. That was just amazing.
Just got finished doing up did it for painting some stuff up for Jay actually. So
yeah,
he wanted some stuff done. Like I said, he doesn't have his stuff out, so I painted up a tank and a stormtrooper on a dewback for him.
Oh yeah,
enjoy painting those. Again, that's one of those ones that you talk about, things that are relatively easy to figure out because it's Star Wars. It's pretty much established.
Yeah, the color iconography, all that stuff. Yeah.
There's a little bit of playfulness you can do with it, but for the most part, and even the variations are known. So.
For those of you watching me do the flesh tones, you'll notice I'm not completely coating this one in the lighter Barbarian flesh that I'm using now. Just to kind of show you a difference in the colors. To the one side is the darker color is the tan flesh, the other color is the Barbarian flesh. So it kind of creates a nice highlight there. But I'm just going with a really thin coat on the high points of all the muscle. I typically, unless I'm doing object source lighting specifically, I paint as if the character is standing in the noonday sun. And I leave the recesses darker when I start to put in the highlights like this, and only paint the higher points on the model, especially with flesh tones. I leave the recesses darker, and then when I go to wash it, so there's two schools of thought on washes. You can wash and then layer up, or you can go extra bright and then wash and tone down. In this case, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to wash and tone down, I'm going to paint it all up and then I'm going to tone it down with a wash. Unlike the Hill Giant, which I did a layer, a wash, and then I'm going to lighten up a little bit. And at some point I hope to have a series of these where I can show you the differences in the look. But, that time will come as you guys continue to give us the support in chat and in the streams, and we get time to put it all together for you. we go. And you can see some of the shading along the edges of the muscle a lot more now with that highlight in place.
Mm-hmm.
And then the wash on the brown is starting to dry, so you can see that as well. So, and I will say this, one of the things you have to learn about washes is they absolutely have to be dry. And the paint absolutely has to be dry before you apply a wash to it. If you don't have the patience, you will really, really mess some stuff up if you apply a wash to wet paint or wet paint to a wash at any point in time. It's just
it just turns to just turns to mud at that point. Yeah.
Oh, what do we got going on here? Let's see here. Excited to play 2 weeks. Good Cups. Star Wars figures. They look great. Yeah, Star Wars is awesome, man. Can't go wrong. All right, now I'm going to switch over to some plate mail metal. And what I'm going to do with that is I'm just going to hit the keen edge of the blade on this particular axe that the executioner is packing.
Mm-hmm.
Just to kind of give that edge a little bit more of a look to it.
Nice.
And you can see right there, the edge slightly brighter.
Mm-hmm.
Really puts something there. And then later on when you go back over it with a wash, it'll be less of a contrast and more of a, oh wow, that's sharp kind of look to it. The other thing I like about washes is they tend to matte things down.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, or at least a good wash. An ink will be shiny, but a wash will be very flat. And that's a big part of what I work on here.
Yeah, I like to just, when you need to just desaturate that color a little bit and bringing down, like you said, like with that edge there, it just brings that the brightness down. It kind of smooths it out just enough to make it it blends into itself and looks more natural that way.
Yeah.
I just like the way that works.
That's another thing that layered glazes can do for you too.
Mm-hmm.
Because glazes tend to dry flat as well. But you absolutely need to make sure your glazes are dry between glazing too.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Alright, so I'm going to hit the flesh wash next. Again, Wargamer Regiment brush to keep more control over what I'm working on here and teasing it into the tighter spaces on this particular model. So I'm going to start with the face on this one. And tease just a smidge.
So I am just very slowly building layers on these wings.
Mm-hmm.
So I want this, I've got like the darker red towards the bottom of the wings. I'm just slowly building lighter layers on the top half. It's one of those things that's like, you know, you talk about patience builders.
Oh yeah.
Just over and over and over again, just little bitty adjustments to the way it looks, and it doesn't look right until it's done. Those are sometimes the hardest things to paint, when you're like, I know this will work, but it looks wrong.
Yeah.
All the way up until you're done with it. So
Yeah. Now you really see the shading effect with the highlights also, so it creates a nice effect. Once this dries out, it will be a matte color. It will be amazing. Give that time to
Also,
dry.
one of the harder things for me to get used to was because those washes look so glossy when you put them on,
That's right.
but then they dry to that nice matte finish.
Yeah.
So trusting that process was a bit of a learning curve.
Yeah. The other thing to watch out for is air bubbles. If you brush in such a way that you go too fast, you're creating air bubbles. You'll have little circles that you can never get out. You have to paint over it and start over again because you can't get a wash off that way. Now I'm using dark tone, and I'm hitting the dark hood that's done in Necromancer Cloak to darken the recesses further, smooth out the color a little bit, and tease it into place. I've got to be very careful not to hit the flesh tones with this, because it will jack up the effect very, very quickly if I do. And someone's calling Dwight.
Always. Phone never rings
Dwight,
unless I'm on stream.
It's so cool. I'll be your best friend.
Didn't know the first time, Mom, for a reason. See if she checks her phone or not. I don't know why it's like my parents always call my phone so they can talk to my kids. And my daughter has her own phone. I'm like, just skip the middleman. Just go right to the source. You know you don't want to talk to me anymore.
Do they have the phone number?
Yeah. I think it's just, all the years of, it's just habit for them.
Yeah.
My daughter's only had her phone for a few months now, so. Yeah.
Sometimes I want to hear from you first.
Yep.
Just to know that you're okay. Whew. What time are you tracking?
6:30.
Man, I think I got this done in record time.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I just gotta wait for the washes to dry now and then start looking at basing.
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap. For a second I thought the clock on the computer was wrong.
Hey, Jay, have a good night, sir. Thanks for stopping by.
Hey, I'd also like to just give a shout out to Rose for being our latest Patreon patron. Thank you so much, Rose, for joining our Patreon. Really excited to have you on as a supporter, and we hope you are excited like we are too. So check out the latest cool stuff on our Patreon when you can.
Yes.
The executioner is ready.
Love it.
Yeah, I think we're gonna just do a quick dark wash on this bad boy and on the axe itself, and then call it done.
Sometimes the best mini is the done mini.
Best mini done mini. Yeah. Heck, since I got that done, might as well just start working on this wizard next. Ooh.
Wizard.
Wizard. Doing some basing on this bad boy here as well. Place it here. See what we can do to show that off in a manner that looks as good as it should. Let's see if maybe that helps a little bit. Gotta get a light that focuses this way, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the next step.
Figuring
and
out
the fact that I even have a mini cam is the nice thing, but I gotta get
Right.
a light for it, you know?
Yeah, figuring out and that's where I'm at. I've got this most of the stuff that I need,
Yeah.
but I've decided I'm going to be doing some remodeling this spring and building myself an office, and I'm not going to commit to doing anything until I have that office built, just because there's no point in setting things up, changing things in this room if I'm just going to be moving in a few months anyways.
Are you moving houses or just moving rooms?
Just moving rooms, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're basically converting our garage into a office space / living area, and it's gonna be my new office / painting room.
How are you heating it?
We're
Because you're in Michigan, bro.
Yeah, it's gonna be a space heater. So it's already like three quarters insulated. We got to insulate the door and put in some ceiling insulation. But all the walls are already insulated.
Okay.
And then we're gonna I'm gonna go with a space heater at first because I've got one that's big enough. We'll see because it's just gonna be a daytime room.
Right.
If we decide to make it any more than just a daytime room, then we'll probably run a baseboard heater out there or something.
Yeah.
But yeah. No, we're just trying to figure out. We got a steal on this house, and it's we have a nice low mortgage, and yeah, we could sell it and move, but then our mortgage wouldn't be low anymore.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to make this work because 10 or 15 years we'll be looking at having a house paid off ahead of retirement, and just makes more sense that way to me.
So for this wizard, we've already painted the staff with oak brown, the metal bits on the hilt and on his belt buckle with weapon bronze, and we did the beard with... what was that done with? That would have been done with, I believe, a mid-brown wash.
Okay.
So I think what we're going to do now is we're going to upgun a little bit. One, we're going to try to hit that mid-brown in the beard a little further up, just to get some more in there, because I see some spots under the hat that was missed. And then two, we are going to, there we go. Yeah, definitely got to get some stuff under the hat here. From there, we are going to shift into the robes themselves. So it's already a wizard of sorts, and there's plenty of interesting action on this guy. However, I just think I want to keep the guy low-key. I think I'm going to, because his robes are already tattered pretty badly, I think I'm going to go with a gray robe style on him.
Okay.
So I'm probably going to go with ash gray to start on the robes, and then layer up from there. I did not expect to have the time to do a second mini tonight, but hey, bonus.
Right.
We're gonna get that knocked out. Ow, elbow. That's gonna hurt. And if he didn't have such great folds from the white primer already where I could see all the detail, I'd probably hit this with a soft tone wash just so I could see the various different crevices and details. Because often when a model starts out as completely white, it can be hard to see all the details.
Yeah.
So often you'll see me hit a soft tone wash or a brown wash on any model that I've primed white just so I can see the various different details on the model. Probably do his belt color in a gray-blue color of some sort, along with the band around his hat. And then I did the scepter, or the top of his staff there, I did actually I did not use a blue wash. I used the Games Workshop technical paint called Nighthaunt Gloom.
Okay, yep.
But I probably went a little heavy with it, but I wanted it to look a little more blue than white, so I may hit it again with a white and then try something a little different with it. I can tell you the underside of this I'm going to hit with a dark tone wash, because there's no reason the underside of his robes should be lighter
Right.
than anything.
So have y'all had you had good or bad weather out there? I know some of my people I know on the East Coast have had some snow issues lately. Have you had to deal with any of that?
There was a little snow during the inauguration. There was like a flurry of it, but that was it, man. We've been relatively lucky. I mean, it's been chilly out. I mean, cold out.
Yeah.
But weather-wise, it hasn't been that bad here. It's been pretty low key, to be honest.
Yeah, we've had a relatively mild winter so far. I mean, it's still cold. I mean, it's in the 20s here right now, but we don't have the blizzard snowstorms that we're typically used to this time of year. So
yeah, I kind of honestly expected worse.
Yeah, I'd heard that we were in for a warmer winter, at least here in Michigan. I don't know about elsewhere, but
yeah. This has got to be one of the few times where I've done the hair before I did anything else. And the only reason the hair was done was probably because I had some excess color and I didn't want it to go to waste.
Right.
Let that be a lesson to you kids. Sometimes it's just not worth it. I just really hate wasting paint.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
Paint costs money.
It really does.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the headache or the Excedrin, or I'm sorry, if it's the painting or the Excedrin, but the headache seems to have subsided substantially this afternoon, which is nice.
Yeah, I'm still recovering and having to take naps.
Yeah.
I think that's the only thing that's helped me out. Oh man. And I got so sick the week before last that I couldn't even get out of bed. And then this week there were, as I've recovered, I've had moments where I just had to stop and go to sleep and hydrate and everything else that I'm trying to do here just to recover. I got taken down pretty bad, man.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie.
I know
it was pretty rough for me. And I'm a guy who can keep going after a lot of punishment, and I could not anymore.
Couldn't go, yeah.
There were times I was going up and down the stairs and I felt like every joint in my body hated my guts.
Yep, that does not sound pleasant at all.
Yeah. Felt like I was complaining like an 80-year-old man at one point. And You know, if that's what 80 feels like, ow.
Right. Glad you're starting to feel better.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I had to take a nap today.
Yeah.
I had to take my nap, and then get my dinner meal at 3, and all the stuff that I gotta do. Thankfully, good people.
Mm-hmm.
Very supportive. Because of everything that we do here, I had plenty of people checking in on me.
Nice.
Just to make sure I was okay.
I will say one of the unexpected benefits of this terrible last year that we've had to deal with we kept our kids home just for school all year. But man, there's not been any of the sickness that you typically deal with 3 kids in elementary school, because they're not out in elementary school bringing home colds and flu and whatnot. So
yeah. Instead, we're all scared to death of what they could bring home.
What they could bring home, exactly. Yep.
Just far in excess of that. Okay, so next up, I'm going to do some of the leather pouches on his belt, and I'm going to use the same leather brown that we've been using before, which we've all know and love as a standard color. So with this particular wizard, because of the way his robes are tattered, because this particular wizard is from the Massive Darkness. This one is from one of the Zombicide Black Plague sets.
Okay.
So he's considered like a survivor, right? So because he's a survivor, they're surviving. They're just making it through. So everything is tattered robes and so on. I'm going to put some weathering and stuff toward the bottom and use a technique that shows, like dirtied robes toward the bottom and stuff like that. I do a similar thing on houses when I paint them up too, or bunkers for wargaming. So
I am just layering on some glazes on these wings. See, I'm just trying to pick a little bit of orange into this color scheme here. So just going with a real light yellow glaze, top of the reds, just to kind of filter in some orange color. This is I'm definitely not taking any kind of quick paint techniques on this one. This is again, this is one that I'm going to donate for a charity event. So I want this one to look nice.
You want it to be a prize.
Exactly. So.
Yeah. You know what? I think I'm going to do the belt in leather. I have decided. His hat will be a different color, but the belt will be leather. The decision's been made. I don't know how much you guys can see that. All right. I think I'm going to give him some leather bracers too. Why not? Maybe not. I'm going to use a color called Stone Golem for the wrappings around his arms. It's a lighter gray. Should pull out kind of the color I'm looking for here.
What brand is that?
It's the Army Painter.
Army Painter. Okay. I think I'm using that on Borgamos here.
And I'll highlight it later with a thin down matte white. As to the hat, I kind of want a pale blue to it, but I don't want it to be so blue that it's ridiculous. So I'm going to go with a... electric blue hat.
Like that?
And then I'll use a slightly darker blue for the bands around his hat. Maybe an ultramarine. Okay. Moment of truth. Color's good. Oh yeah, I like this color. So, quick reminder, just because something says electric blue doesn't mean it's the color that it is. Never use the name to determine the color, look at the color to determine the color. You can see the hat.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Yeah. Right.
Forgot to do the boots. Before anybody panics seeing that I've got stuff on the base, remember the base is going to be covered with texture and basing, so you won't see a lot of that mistakes, hardly at all. So it's just not a major concern.
That's just the standard base that came with it.
Well, it's literally built in. It's part
built
of the model.
in, yeah.
Yeah, you don't. It came on a base that was built in. It's a great set of miniatures for the tabletop game as well. But I also just picked them up because you get a crap ton of zombies and other fantasy miniatures in it, and it's a fantastic way to get them. So.
Yep. Yeah, I very rarely worry about the bases when I'm painting because I'm almost always going to rebase or texture base or the ones that bother me the most are actually the Hero Forge ones, because especially if you order anything, any of those custom bases. Have you ever ordered anything from them before?
Not a lot, no.
Yeah.
Not a lot. What I build is literally just right then and there,
Yeah.
And I try not to put too much on the base because I know a lot of people do.
Yeah.
But painting around all that crap is such a difficult.
Yeah, I had a couple of friends that built them and then gave them to me to paint for them, and those bases were just the death of me.
Yeah. Next thing up, Ultramarine Blue for the hat band. What you just watched me do was use a slightly larger brush to clean up some overspill before it had a chance to dry and become too dark. And just did it again. Not something I have to do often, but having a large brush ready to soak up paint never hurts.
Let's see here.
And because I know I'm going to be using a blue wash on the whole hat to tone everything down and up and get the lines done, I'm not terribly worried if I have any white showing on the edges, but I do want to try to get them if I can.
Put a null model here.
There we go. There we go. All right. Next up, getting the blade on the sword done. Now in this case, this is a wizard's blade. It's a little more fancy-pantsy. So what we're going to do is we're going to use plate mail metal right off the bat. A little smidge will do ya. This is going to be one of those few times I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. There is a metal spiral on this particular miniature that goes around the staff that this wizard's carrying. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit that spiral with plate mail metal and make it appear on the next action-packed painting.
Right.
We're gonna have explosions going off behind us.
It's definitely a falls into more of the ASMR background noise realm of streaming for sure.
I don't know about you, but I find it satisfying when there's explosions.
Those explosions make everything better.
They just do.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm going through now and just trying to. I'm using a little bit of very, very light dry brushing here to just pick out some additional highlights in some of the more raised areas. Being very, very light with it because I know I just want the slightest little touch and I don't want to go too far, so.
Mm-hmm.
I'm throwing a little bit more in the hair and I'm going to go over with a light glaze to kind of give it kind of like a blonde highlight over the dry brush and then kind of orange tint to the hair itself. I think I'm getting pretty close to where I want to be with this one. A bit more with that now.
Chav Hunter 86. Hello, good to see you, man.
Hello, hello. Welcome. Happy Sunday.
And all you other folks in chat, good to see you as well. Yeah, so you can see the silver now around the staff at the base here.
Very nice.
Yeah. All right, and I had to do some touch-ups in between because I got just a smidge too much silver, so I threw a little more of the oak brown in the in-between spots just to kind of cover it back up there, get it back under control. Alright, and that was using the Wargamer detail brush from the Army Painter to get the metal on the staff and get the brown back in between the bits on the metal spirals on the staff. Next up, we're going to do a dark wash on the bottom, or dark tone on the bottom of the robes, and then while that's drying, we're going to look at some of the other color choices we've got available here.
Okay, where is... Here it is. So what do you use? What's your preferred flesh wash?
I use flesh wash from the Army Painter most of the time.
Here, okay.
Yeah, they had one called Ogren Flesh from Games Workshop a while back. I don't know if that's still in production.
Okay.
But that was pretty good back when I used it.
Yeah, I've been using the Reichland Flesh shade. That's pretty much my go-to right now.
That's probably what they have currently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to wait for all those washes to dry here, so we'll start on this base here. It looks...
That's why I started with the bottom, because I know I'll be doing a lot of washes towards the base of the model on this one.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But, so I went ahead and did that one first, knowing I can get some of the other stuff done up top and still be good to go. So now that that's done, I'm going to start with the flesh wash on the hands and the face. Again, flesh wash is amazing, and you should use it every chance you get on flesh. However, I don't need to use too much on this particular model because there's not a lot of flesh on here, so just a little dab will do ya. And really all it is there for is to pick out the recesses and let the highlights, the high points really still show. And it also is a great way to get some quick shading in on the areas in between the flesh and the weapon he's carrying or the sleeves that he's got, you know, just to get it in there.
Right.
Works really easy. thing about Flesh Wash is it tends to have a hint of red in it. A good Flesh Wash does, anyway. So it's kind of a combination of kind of a chestnut brown and a red to get you the best of both worlds for a good Flesh Wash. Now, I could have done this wizard with the traditional gray beard, but with gray robes, it's kind of like overkill.
Yeah, a little too washed out, yeah.
Yeah, and, you know, I kind of wanted a slightly younger wizard
Yeah.
look on this guy. So, that's what we got. And so, you can see up in there in the face now, it's washed. You can see some of the detail there. That you could not see before. We'll wash the edge of these robes here.
Glow to this one, don't we?
Alright, now we're waiting for everything else. We're going to grab some Blue Town, which I feel silly about because I had put it away thinking I wasn't going to use any today.
Always the way it goes, though, right? The minute you think you don't need it is when you need it, so.
Isn't that exactly how it goes? Right. We're going to put the Blue Tone all over the hat. Alrighty. So the hat is now a slightly darker hue of blue, and the lines will now show much more specifically along the hat. And that shade gradient will continue to work its magic. Notice he has some buttons on his robes here. I'm going to put just a smidge of weapon bronze on each one of them.
Okay.
What a pain.
Yeah, I'm starting to pick out details on this armor myself, and it's on the source material. There's a lot of like just gold trim on this steel armor.
Oh yeah.
And trying to get in and get these raised edges. They're just the tiniest little edges.
Well, I'm going to touch up this belt buckle just a smidge. There we go. Next up comes the more difficult, challenging part, which is how are we going to show the weathering on this particular set of robes? So one of the first things we're going to do is we are going to hit a soft tone on various different parts that would have been dragging or have become soiled over time. And then we'll hit it mid-tone or mid-brown a little further down. So with the soft tone, we're going to particularly pick out areas that have little holes in them because those are areas that are going to be filth laden. We're also going to pick out areas of the robes that would have potentially dragged along the ground and gotten some dust to them, or dirt and grime in them as well, and just build that up a little bit here and there. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it does need to look messy. And that's part of the deal. So this guy's robes have holes and pockmarks in various places on them. And, to make those highlight, we need to show a little bit of dirt around them. This can also look like dried blood, where he's been taking a beating here and there. All sorts of stuff could be there. And, that's also part of what we're pulling out here. Part of the way I do that is I also drag from the bottom up so that it stays darker at the bottom, and then it gradually highlights. But it also kind of puts these miniature, like almost hidden lines into the robes of the soil line. And then we just start putting gradual streaks of soiling into the robes with the soft tone. And we still leave gray showing here and there, but we definitely want some areas that are, well, not looking too pretty. And then while I'm at it, I'm also going to go ahead and hit the leathery bits with the soft tone.
There it is. Okay.
I'm also going to hit the beard with some soft tone, because I don't want it dark brown per se, but I want it shaded. And I'm hitting the hair in the back with the soft tone. Starting at the top and working my way down, because obviously it would be more shaded in the top of the hat than it would be below. There we go. Now comes the more difficult part. This is the challenge. So the mid brown is what we're going to use, because that's what's going to show real soiling from the bottom of the robes on this. So to do that, we're going with the mid brown. We're going to work our way from bottom up, but not more than knee height per se, right, on the miniature. So from bottom up and tease the gradient upward where appropriate, so that it's thinner at the top and at the bottom, and go from there.
So I am just continuing here to pick out these raised edges and the golds. So I've got a base of first layer of Citadel Genna's gold, and I'm gonna just hit some of some auric armor on some of the real bright spots here. Once this is dried, gone back over it with some Nuln oil just to kind of contrast. Make sure I set the contrast on here. Yeah, I think it's going to work out quite nicely when it's done. I've got a layer of flesh tone on the face with a flesh wash, and it's got glowing orangish yellow eyes. So I'm just going to kind of go with a yellow eye I'm going to kind of glaze some orange into it, and then trim that with the flesh wash again. That's what I want. Base here.
So a once very proud Grey Wizard is now looking quite, well, haggard.
Yeah.
And in desperate straits.
Once again, man, it seems like I paint with you and the time just sails by me.
Dude, that's the secret.
Yep.
Gotta have those guests.
All right.
Helps if you have good guests like you. What's the next show you got coming up?
So I've got, my next one will be my Tuesday night paint show, Let's Paint Tiny Things. So I'll be doing, I'll actually probably be finishing this model up on Tuesday night, working on Borgmos. So I do, Tuesday nights I do D&D minis, so fantasy style minis, and then on Thursdays I do 40K, 7 Eastern. Yeah, so that's it. I think we are done for the month for live play shows. So our next live play will be actually the one you're in, February 7th, which is the Star Wars Mercenary Tales Shuttleport Adventures. So that's a fun one. Jay's been running that, and again, it's all the shows that I have on my channel are anthology series of one shots. So we have some of the same players back, but it's never the same exact cast. And I things change up from time to time. So yeah.
Yeah.
So that'll be.
Our next show will be Games Tavern Happy Hour. We're gonna have a special guest. One of the, if everything goes according to plan, it'll be one of the writers of Rime of the Frost Maiden.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she's really cool. Hang on a minute, I'll get her name for you so everybody has the name. Let's see here. Hannah Harlan.
Okay, yep, I know the name.
Yeah, she's awesome. She'll be on the show this coming Tuesday.
Excellent.
And so tune in to see, find out more about her, the person behind the writing, and whatever else she wants to share with us about her current projects or what she's up to.
Excellent.
Yeah.
We should be. I should probably plug Mini Train Domain too while I'm here. That is our next show for Mini Train Domain is actually tomorrow night. The game that I DM, All That Glitters, and that is a Dungeon of the Mad Mage adventure. Every Monday night at 8:30 Eastern over on Mini Train Domain.
Dude, that sounds like a lot of fun, by the way.
That game is it's a blast so far. It's the first proper dungeon crawl I've ever DM'd, and I'm really enjoying myself so far. And again, I just got a really good. It's so easy to DM. It's so much easier to DM when you have a good group of players, and that is a fantastic group of players I have in that game.
Yeah.
So,
well, players can be huge, especially when you're the DM and you're trying to carry a game.
Right.
Obviously, you want a good DM as well, but So these are the two done today. We have the Executioner from Wiz Kids, and we have this wizard from Zombicide Black Plague. Both exquisite minis, both
Fantastic.
easily done in a session.
Yeah.
Not bad.
This is what I've done here. Let me see if I can get a good shot of her.
Yeah. Oh,
there we go.
Go ahead.
So yeah, and again, Aurelia, Exemplar of Justice. So we've done some layering in the wings, got some different colors in there on the tunic, and I'm starting to work on the armor. So I've got some touch-up stuff to do, some more highlights, bringing out the highlights and whatnot. So, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. I probably got a couple more hours of work on this one before I get her where I want her. So I'll be finishing her up on Tuesday night. And again, this will be a giveaway. I'll throw that in here too. It'll be for Wily Hobbits is doing a giveaway on their stream. I think it's February 6th. They're doing a charity stream to benefit Jasper's Game Week or Jasper's Game Day, and I'll be giving this away as part of that. So, yeah.
Excellent. And these two bad boys are going to go up on our shelf here shortly, where they will be added to our collection to be used on our streams as well. So you may see these minis in the various different streams here in the not too distant future. I keep missing one of these. There it is. And as that dries out, you'll see it matte considerably, and the coolness factor will go through the roof.
Right.
So not bad at all for a speed paint session that adds a lot of detail.
Yeah, those are both
Yeah.
outstanding.
Yeah. I may have to do an entire show just on basing miniatures here at this point. I've got enough of them here that I need to get based.
Get based, yeah.
Yeah, then I could just do a whole show based on it. But yeah, so like when I pull out, when I was talking about, some of the things I got to do here. So when I pull out one like this one right here, I have to do a lot of thinking because there's a lot of ways to make this look right or make it look very, very bad.
Mm-hmm.
And I really want to make sure when I do a model like this, the dancing girl.
Yeah, there's so much motion in that one. And it's very easy to get that wrong.
This guy, the performer, and part of it I look at, the example they give that comes with the model itself, but part of it I also look at, because a lot of this stuff, whether the guy's wearing, hose, he's wearing, pantaloons and stuff like that, it's all based on, Renaissance era clothing.
Right.
So I look at some of the colors that were available then and some of the inspiration behind it. It doesn't change anything per se. I make my decisions based on what's going to look good, but it does impact and influence or inspire in some cases.
Sure,
the kind of choices I make. So. All right. Well, with that, do you have anything else you want to add? Because I'm about to shut down for the night, man.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. I'm just going to do a little bit more touch-up here tonight. But yeah, thank you so much for having me on.
Oh, man.
Always a pleasure to paint with you, man.
Absolutely great to have you here. And I can't thank you enough for being here. Yeah. Really, really excited to have another great painter alongside the
I appreciate that. And we'll have to get you back on over on our show. But yeah, have a great rest of your weekend. What's the little bit that's left of it. So thanks, everybody.
All right, take care, everybody. Bye.